Welcome back to our course on modern architecture. These lectures are on the American architect Louis Kahn. My name is John Lobel, and we're looking at some more of Kahn's buildings. So let's start here with the Salk Institute. Jonas Salk developed the polio vaccine, and this was a huge story. Here you see him on the cover of Time magazine. He became a medical cultural superhero, and this gave him the clout to be able to build his own research center, for which he decided he wanted Kahn to be his architect. So here we see the complex. There are two major wings to the building and a garden in the center. Kahn originally planned planting there, but it eventually was just paved in travertine. And here we see the offices for the scientists are now separate, so they don't intermingle with the laboratory spaces. On the outside, these towers are the service towers, stairs, elevators, toilets. Now, the striking thing about this building is the huge 65-foot span with giant verandales. These verandales are so deep that they allow Kahn to get all the mechanical equipment inside them so that they are out of the way of the scientists, and then what the scientist needs can drop down. So here we see the open flexible lab space. This is before this lab was occupied. And here we see the mechanical space just filled with equipment. Now, the lab spaces are surrounded in glass, which we see here. And that's seen as a reference to Mies. And then wrapping around that are the formwork for the concrete that has stairs going to the scientist studies, the walkways. And so the phrase is that Kahn wraps Corbu around Mies. Here are these. Each of these is one study, so there are 4 studies or offices for the scientists in one of these towers. And this is exposed teak wood on the exterior. And here is the courtyard. And Kahn asked landscape architect Louis Barragan to landscape it, and Barragan said, no landscape, just leave it exposed as a facade of the sky. So it's a place of quiet spiritual repose. Now, here's something to think about. Here is the Medical Towers by Kahn. Here is Salk. Very different buildings. But Kahn uses the terms form and design, by which he means form is the underlying organizational principle of the building, design is how it's carried out. And here we see that the designs are very different, but the forms of the lab spaces, the offices, the mechanical services are the same in both buildings, while the designs are different. Kahn's next important building is the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. Now here, Kahn wanted to reproduce a Roman villa. And we mentioned previously that Kahn had traveled to Rome and started thinking about this architecture he had studied in the Beaux-Arts tradition. He's not going to do Beaux-Arts architecture, but he's going to do something richer than the other modern architects of the time. So we have a series of vaults giving us a grid, and these vaults are actually structurally cycloids. So that's the type of curve it is. And Kahn's going to frame this in concrete in this grid, and then infill with travertine. And on the center of each of these vault forms is a skylight. And those skylights are going to wash the inside of the building. So here we see Kahn showing us the concrete frame of the building and then this travertine and block masonry infill. And then inside, here is the cycloid or vault, and we see there's a skylight running down the center, and you can't let direct light hit a painting, right, because it's going to bleach it. So he's got these reflectors that let a little bit of light through, but then reflect the light out and washes it down the concrete. So here's this raw concrete that, shouldn't look good, but the way it gets washed by the light makes it look absolutely beautiful. And so we have these really serene, excellent galleries. So what Kahn is doing is looking for the solidity of the past, which had been lost in a lot of modern architecture, but not bringing back the classical orders, dark Ionic and Corinthian columns. He's doing it in another way. So give that some thought. How does Kahn bring back the solidity of the past without imitating the past? And we've got one more segment coming up, a couple more of Kahn's buildings before we talk about his approach to design and his philosophy. Thank you.